Solo Sikoa built an entire empire after turning his back on his own family, and now the two men he brought in to replace them have walked out on him too. Tama Tonga and Talla Tonga didn't just quit the group. They looked Solo dead in the eye and told him he was on his own. Stick around, because I'm breaking down exactly how this betrayal happened, what it means for Sikoa's future, and clearing up something important about how violent this breakup actually got. Welcome back to WWE Soul, let's get into it. To understand why this betrayal hits so hard, you need to remember exactly what Solo Sikoa gave up to build this group in the first place. After Roman Reigns lost to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania XL, Sikoa took over leadership of the Bloodline himself, declaring himself the new tribal chief. He shocked everyone by turning on Paul Heyman, the wise man who'd guided the family for years, and started assembling his own crew. He brought in Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and the dangerous Jacob Fatu, forming a faction that genuinely rivaled the original Bloodline. Eventually he expanded even further, adding Talla Tonga and JC Mateo to form what became known as My Family Tree, or MFT, allowing Sikoa's new group to dominate WWE programming for an extended stretch, with Sikoa even capturing the United States Championship along the way. So this wasn't some thrown-together group. Sikoa built MFT specifically as a replacement family after abandoning his real one, which makes what happened next even more brutal on a storytelling level. Now let's get into exactly how this fell apart, because the tension had actually been building for weeks before the official split. By mid-2026, cracks were already showing. Tama Tonga had real friction with Sikoa after Sikoa cost him and Talla their tag match on the June 19th episode of Smackdown. Then just a few days later, on the June 22nd episode of Raw, Sikoa cost Jimmy Uso a match against LA Knight, another moment where Sikoa's personal obsessions were bleeding into the rest of the group's business. That obsession, specifically, was Roman Reigns and the Bloodline he'd left behind. Sikoa simply couldn't let that rivalry go, and it kept dragging MFT into conflicts that had nothing to do with them. Things came to a head on June 26th, in a backstage segment at London's O2 Arena. Tama Tonga and Talla Tonga confronted Sikoa directly about costing them their tag team title match against Damian Priest and R-Truth. They called him out for helping LA Knight beat Jimmy Uso, and they told him flat out that they thought he'd become obsessed with Reigns. Tama revealed they'd gone to consult the family elders, and the elders had made the call. They were done. As they walked away, Sikoa shouted after them that they couldn't just leave him. Later that same night, Sikoa crashed LA Knight's segment and actually offered to team up with Knight to take down Reigns together. Knight pointed out that being completely alone left the door open for Sikoa to crawl back to the Bloodline. Sikoa insisted he hated them and regretted ever being part of it, but Knight wasn't convinced, asking why he should trust Sikoa given what happened when the Usos eventually returned to the fold. Now here's where I want to be precise, because the word attack gets thrown around a lot in wrestling headlines, and I think it's worth clarifying exactly what happened here. Based on everything reported from that June 26 segment, this was an emotional, verbal betrayal, a walkout, not a physical assault. Tama and Talla didn't lay hands on Sikoa. They confronted him with words, told him the elders had made the call, and left. That's a gut punch moment in wrestling storytelling terms, but it's not the same thing as a brutal beatdown, and I want to be accurate about that distinction instead of overselling it. Where actual physical violence against Sikoa does come into this story is from a completely different direction: his old Bloodline family. On the July 10th episode of Smackdown, Jacob Fatu delivered a genuinely vicious beatdown on Sikoa after a match, though he stopped short of causing serious injury, explicitly framing it as a final warning for Sikoa to rejoin the family. That's real, confirmed physical violence, but it came from Fatu and the Bloodline, not from Tama and Talla Tonga. So to sum up the fact check clearly, MFT's split from Sikoa was a real, confirmed betrayal, but it was an emotional walkout, not a brutal physical attack. If you want the actual brutal attack in this saga, that's Jacob Fatu's doing, and it's part of a separate, ongoing pressure campaign to pull Sikoa back into the Bloodline. So where did Tama and Tonga actually go after leaving Sikoa? This part is confirmed and it's genuinely interesting. On the July 31st episode of Smackdown, the two reflected publicly on their decision to leave, saying they'd lost focus on actually winning championships while tied up in Sikoa's personal war. That's when WWE Hall of Famer Haku, their real-life father, appeared and reminded his sons of their heritage, telling them to make the world fear the Tonga family again. Later that same night, in a chaotic title-for-title match between Damian Priest and R-Truth against the AAA Tag Team Champions, Tama and Talla stormed in and laid out all four competitors, with Haku watching on approvingly. That tells you exactly where this story is heading. Tama and Talla aren't just former MFT members drifting without direction. They're rebuilding as a legitimate, father-endorsed tag team threat, and they've already shown they're willing to be genuinely ruthless doing it, just not specifically against Sikoa. My honest read on this breakup works so well because it mirrors exactly what Sikoa did to his own family 2 years ago. He built MFT by walking away from people who cared about him, and now he's watching two more guys walk away for the exact same reason, his own obsessions putting the group at risk. Combine that with Jacob Fatu actively trying to pull him back to the Bloodline, and Sikoa is genuinely running out of allies. That's compelling storytelling, even without needing to embellish it as more violent than it actually was. So that's the real story behind MFT's split from Solo Sikoa, a real, confirmed betrayal, but an emotional walkout rather than a brutal physical attack. With Tama and Talla now rebuilding under Haku's guidance while Jacob Fatu keeps applying real pressure for Sikoa to return to the Bloodline. I want to know what you think in the comments. Does Sikoa eventually cave and rejoin the Bloodline, or does he keep trying to build something new on his own? And do you think Tama and Tonga become genuine championship threats now that they're free of Sikoa's baggage? If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Drop your thoughts below, I read every comment. Thanks for watching. Long live the soul. Peace.